Denmark proposes a copyright law that grants citizens ownership of their face, voice, and body to fight against AI deepfakes.
I saw it in the Guardian and in just kind of a standard news sweep that I do every day. And I thought, well, look at that. I finally have a thing that I can say is a perfectly reasonable and justified thing for government to do.
Well, yeah, and I would agree with you. It falls under the heading of defining and protecting property rights.
Property rights, exactly so. And if you don't have a property right in your person, then you don't have a property right in anything. Right? That just necessarily follows. Also, in a digital world, there might be more to having property in your person than just saying, I own myself and you can't enslave me. Maybe also my voice is something that I own as a property right. And sadly, my face and all the things I would say and do and think. And I remember having this conversation, a very odd conversation, with a number of women. And you'll see why it was specifically women I had this conversation with. I would ask them, what would be your response if you found out that somebody took your face and through electronic manipulation pasted it onto a porn star in a scene so it looked like it was you in that scene? And they were all horrified by the idea. And then I would tell them that technology already exists. Yep. There are people who might have already done this to you without your knowledge. And they claimed it was a violation. And I pushed hard, asking, how exactly is it a violation if it's not really you? And nobody really came up with the answer in those conversations that the Danes have come up with now, that you have a property interest in your name, likeness, and what's always the third thing, name, likeness, and image, that you can actually own those. And we've come around with college athletes to say you own your name, likeness, and image. So if you want to go, or if people want to hire you to be a spokesman, you don't lose your amateur sporting status because of that. It's name, likeness, image. Go nuts. And I think that's a more fair thing to tell college athletes than the college will benefit from your hard work and you'll get a free education that, let's face it, you're not interested in the first place.
Right.
So I think the Danes are onto something here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the sentiment, and I may even agree with what they have in mind, but it raises some unintended consequence questions, which are, is it the case that if I'm then, let's suppose this law is in place, and I'm walking down the street and somebody happens to be videoing and I appear on their video, can I now sue and say, look, you're using me in this video?
No, because that's a public thing, right? And we already have laws that cover that. But think of it this way. We have a listener out there. I'm not going to say his name, Jesse Hans. But Jesse sent me a file once of you saying a bunch of things that you...
I know, I heard this.
That you would never say. And he said, you should just do the podcast with this fake Antony instead. He would say such smart things. And I thought, Jesse didn't really say that, but I really thought that. And somehow that would be wrong, right? To represent a thing as you that is not in fact you.
Yeah, and it seems to me there's a big difference there, because if you're filming me walking down the street, you are capturing something that I did. It's real, it's true. But if you put me in this fake situation, it would be the same thing as me quoting something James Harrigan said,
Right.
and me just making something up and saying James said this.
That's right. And I don't think there's a lot of territory for unintended consequences here. Because
there's one more I haven't said yet.
All right, go ahead.
What do you do in the case of twins?
Well, I mean, look, that's always been a bit of a sticky wicket, hasn't it, over the many years? And I think you have to treat them the same way that we would treat any other individual. It's just going to be a lot harder to figure it out.
Well, my immediate reaction is we got to decide which one owns the face.
Well, they each.
I mean, ultimately, that's the question.
They each own their own face. It just so happens that they have the same face, for the most part, right? There are all kinds of little tiny things, but I take your point. Twins are difficult, but you don't allow the hard case to make the law. You allow the right case to make the law, and.
Well, hang on a second, because if you're going to say, okay, we'll deal with twins, then I say, okay, I take this picture of James and I put a birthmark on it. And I say, it's not James anymore.
But it is.
Well,
it is. And
is it?
It is, and we all know it is, right? Let's be reasonable here. I think the interesting thing here is going to be answering questions not from the present and the future, but the past. Can James Dean star in a new movie? Who owns James Dean? James Dean is long dead, right? Do people at some point go into the public domain? 100 years after I die, will it then be acceptable to make a James chatbot without asking anybody or compensating anybody? Those are the interesting questions that we're going to have to answer. But in the here and now, saying in the age of AI, you can't attribute to a person things that person did not say and then make something that's so utterly believable. And look, we've been talking about village idiots on and off over the last couple of months, and I keep an eye on them on Facebook especially. They will buy hook, line, and sinker any AI thing that you put up, even with obvious flaws. So what happens when AI no longer has obvious flaws? The village idiots are going to buy it, and they outnumber us. So, I mean, people are going to need some form of protection. Otherwise, everybody who has a fight with anybody is going to be online saying horrible, racist things, going to get fired immediately. This is not a world we can live with.
Right.
The real question is, how are you going to be able to trace people down, track them down, if they in fact do this? Because they're going to be guilty of crimes, right? This is going to become a forensic endeavor to go find these people. And that's going to be really interesting.
And just, I guess, related to that, let's suppose hypothetically we get to the point that AI is so good that I can create a video of you robbing a bank. And you say, no, Davies made this AI. This is AI. But what if you actually did rob the bank and someone was videoing it?
And look, there are going to be all kinds of crackpot things that happen. And in fact, that might provide for me the best alibi ever. Davies made that. I didn't rob the bank, right? I mean, anyway, if there is a Danish lawmaker in the sound of my voice, please be in touch. We would love to talk about this with you in person.
At Words and Numbers, we spend a lot of time talking about what's going on in the economy and the government. But fundamentally, all of this boils down to one thing. The greatest threat facing modern society is a lack of respect. The people who disagree somehow find it difficult, if not impossible, to discuss their differences in a civil manner. We at CiVL are interested in upgrading civilization by encouraging people to engage with new ideas and ultimately engage civilly with each other. If you share this idea, please join us by subscribing at CiVL.com. That's CiVL.com.